If you remember yesterday, son of a gun. Let's see if this works this time. But if you remember yesterday, the last news video, or one of the news videos, ended with a glitch coming out. That being, well, actually, I don't know if I kept it in the video or not, but we'll see what happens. But either way, um, I wanted to focus. I basically split up the two news videos to focus one on more AEW news and Ring of Honor news, as opposed to uh, really not having any order or balance to it. Which again, this is one of my normal times to say, I wish AEW I wish AEW Fight Forever will be available on Game Pass, because if it is, then I will play the heck out of it, and it will be where I can finally have AEW have their own news videos where I focus on Fight Forever as opposed to just using WWE for all the news videos. But either way, off to the news, off to the races with the news. As for those who may have missed Dynamite last night, Chris Jericho, as Tony Schiavone said during Dynamite, we saw the biggest upset of the year when Action Andretti. So if you don't know that name, there's a reason for it. Because it was one of those times where we expected nothing out of the segment, and we just thought it was going to be one of those segments where it was here today, gone tomorrow. But Action Andretti stepped into the ring against Chris Jericho, and it was, in many respects, the idea that Jericho would be letting off some steam after losing the belt to Claudio Castagnoli at Ring of Honor Final Battle. But surprisingly, and you could say shockingly, it didn't go down that way, as Jericho was surprised by a standing shooting star press in what was, in all honesty, I have not seen the match yet, but I will look at the match and maybe put up an update on the website if I can remember my login information. Which I actually have not put anything up on the website in a while, but that's a story for another day. That in what was said to be a match that, if you have not seen it, it's worth watching, where Jericho showed how good he is getting that type of match out of Action Andrade, or to be able to get that type of match out of Action Andrade. And basically, Jericho did for Action Andrade what Scott Hall did for Jericho back in WCW. The only question is, will Action Andrade's win against Jericho carry any sort of weight or momentum? Because when Jericho beat Scott Hall on that episode of Nitro, his win carried no momentum, or very minimal momentum. It was just more for the shock and awe of the situation. So my question is, what will come of it? And that leaves a bit of intrigue and interest, and makes you wonder what's going to happen next with Action Andrade, as Tony Khan is trying to capitalize on the whole WWE saying that anything can happen in AEW. But now Winter is Coming lived up to his expectation of being a surprise-ridden show, with, of course, Maxwell Jacob Friedman retaining his championship against Ricky Starks in his first title defense as champion. And also the trio's best of 7 match continuing between Death Triangle and the Elite. But we have the reveal that next week will be a Falls Count Anywhere match. The following week will be the breakdown has, where if it reaches a final round, if it reaches a 7, then it will be a trios ladder match for the trios championship. And I will say that in my opinion, I was skeptical at best about what we would see from this tournament or this trios, this best of seven between Death Triangle and the Elite, I figured that it would have been better to not have the Elite jump it back into the title picture right out of the gate. But I think that thus far, this tournament is doing wonders to try and the elevate the trios titles and bring some stability to what is still unfamiliar championships in AEW. Also, we got word that next week on Dynamite, Jamie Hayter will defend her AEW World Women's Championship against Hikaru Shida. He did not connect all the way with that, as I believe this is her first title defense as AEW World Women's Champion. The one thing that I can say is, as far as the trios titles are concerned, is that I hope that the AEW plan is for the House of Black to slot in some form or fashion to the trios title picture once they are done with once the best of seven is done. However they decide to go. However they decide to go. Once they are done, I hope that they decide to go the route of having the House of Black join the picture. I also would like to point out that at that bit of an update on from the Ring of Honor side. That being that the rumor has it that Ring of Honor television, whenever Ring of Honor TV is up for grabs, but Ring of Honor TV will be filmed. Ring of Honor TV will be filmed in Disney MGM Studios or Universal Studios in Orlando, which is the exact spot where WCW and Impact held their TV tapings for a time. So it has a long history for professional wrestling in those areas. My question is, where does that go for AEW? I mean, for Ring of Honor, and that is exactly also. I mean, my question is that a good thing or a bad thing with Ring of Honor or for Ring of Honor? In the bigger picture, I think it's a good thing because this is something that Jim Cornette wanted to do from the outset with Ring of Honor. Put them in a one stable location where you do everything in one place to save on financials and to just sort of like AEW was during the pandemic, where they produced all episodes of Dynamite from Daly's place. The interesting note is that Action Andrade, just to jump back a second, the interesting note is that Action Andretti was actually signed to AEW back in October, so the reveal tonight was an intriguing way to set the plan in motion for Andretti to finally start his AEW tenure that was supposedly set to start back in motion in October when he signed his contract. So this is a very unique and intriguing way to start, and I, for one, am looking forward to Dynamite next week, or even Rampage, to see what happens next with Action Andretti and Chris Jericho. Just two more notes before we go, and that is, three, Michael Mansouri, the former global television production vice president of global television production with WWE, is now a member of AEW and is the senior vice president and executive producer for programming. So that is a big get for AEW to stabilize their upper management, which is something that they very much needed to do, and it was put on complete display back at All Out during that fracas at All Out. Another note is that New Year's Dash is said to be a mystery card, which means that nothing will be announced for the card, and you will find out who is competing in the matches as they make their way to the ring, which is an interesting concept for a show. New Year's Dash is set to take place January the 5th. The show following the day after, the first night one of Wrestle Kingdom 17 from New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is also the second time New Japan has done this, as New Japan sees New Japan did this mystery card back in October for the night before the Rumble on 44th Street, and it seemed to be a success. So on January the 5th, 2023, there will be nothing announced. The card will not be announced at all, and you will find out who is competing in the matches when they make their way to the ring. So stay tuned for that. More information on that, and more information on all things New Japan as we get closer to Wrestle Kingdom. And just one more note, and that is that we will have one more news video today because there's a lot of news to talk about and not a lot of time to do it. So with that being said, please feel free to let me know all your comments down below, and all your thoughts, and anything and everything on anything I talked about, or anything you want to know down in the comment section below. And with that being said, do not forget to ding that notification bell as you walk away, and I will see you again in the next one.